Hi everybody and welcome to another edition of the NJC podcast. My name is Kieran Soar and I'll be your host for this particular podcast, and in this session we're going to be talking about Pride Month. My guests today are Steven Downie, Workplace Operations Manager at Just Eat, and Paul Stone, Business Support Manager at NJC. Thank you both for joining us. How are you both?
Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Great. Well, as you know, we're right in the middle of Pride Month as we speak. So again, really fantastic and an exciting time. I always enjoy sort of Pride Month activities and getting involved. It's the first time we're doing a podcast of this nature. Do you want to talk me through sort of your motivations for coming onto the podcast, apart from me saying you must, Paul, but I didn't say that. Your sort of individual motivations. Perhaps tell us a bit about yourselves and your background.
Yeah. Do you want me to go first?
Yep.
I will go first. So my name's Steven. I work for Just Eat, and I've been in the FM industry for quite a while now, over a decade. My main interest of wanting to come on this podcast is, as I've got older and researched into like Pride Month and like Pride in general and LGBT rights and so on, and looking at things like articles on Stonewall. So basically there was an article I read, and 2 in 5 people in the workplace in the UK don't feel confident in coming out at work. And I think that is a huge statistic. Yeah. And if I can do a little bit in helping and showing it's not so scary, and I appreciate everyone's circumstances are very different, but if I can be a champion on helping make that happen, then I am going to come on a podcast and make that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We're lucky to have you, so thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
How am I supposed to follow that?
Well, you are an icon, so you can.
There's me. So I'm Paul. I work at NJC, have done for 10 years now, and it's the first company I've worked at where I've felt comfortable being out and being myself. Yeah, and as Kieran said, he kind of pushed me into it.
That's right. That's not true.
What incentive you got?
He didn't push me into it. No, it's interesting. As I say, it's the first place I've worked where we've done things like this, where we've had the Pride Month celebrations every year. It's a big thing. It's nice. I really appreciate it. So I thought it was good to do something in return. So here I am.
Yeah, you get to that stage in your career, don't you, where you're thinking, I want to give back. I want to sort of share some of my opinions in the hope that, other people will also share theirs, speak up about a particular topic. And I think things like Pride Month, they're not just on one subject. It's quite cross-sectional because, people from marginalised communities, people, who are, from minority communities as well, who often feel a sense of kinship with the messages that are being, pushed out and the conversations that are being said. So, it's good to sort of have that in the limelight. If we talk around sort of the changes we've seen on Pride through your respective careers. So you come from sort of different backgrounds. You want to tell us a bit about your background first of all, and how the change you've seen over the years.
Yeah, I think for myself, so I'm 36 now, or 36 in 6 months' time, so I'm not going to age myself too much. But joking aside, no, I've seen a lot of change in my lifetime. So obviously when I was at school, there was Section 28 in place, and I know we're going to briefly probably discuss that later on, but, and then going into the workplace at the age of like 18, so I left college. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. It was during the recession in 2008, 2009, and it was really hard to find a job. And I just really didn't know what I wanted to be. I watched the bill a few times. Thought I want to be a voluntary police officer to see while I decide what to do. And that wasn't for me after doing it for a while. And I somehow fell into FM. I rang up where I did my work experience. And I was really determined. I said, look, can I come back? I'll do anything. And I got a job in a call centre, answering phone calls. And the HR manager said, you're quite good at this, because I like talking. And he said to me, why don't you come and work for me in facilities? And you can run the building and the fleet. And it was a great opportunity. It gave me a career. And I loved facilities. And in my career, yeah, I've had odd comments from people about my sexuality and things like that, but mainly my humble beginnings were at school. So I always had, I'd get called gay boy, I'd get called every name under the sun. I don't know if you've got a bleep up, but and it was really tough growing up.
Yeah,
it was really tough, and because I wasn't one of the boys, I never fit in with them. I'd hang around with the girls because I found them a bit more softer and a bit more nicer, and then I never really felt like I fitted in anywhere.
Yeah.
So when I came to work, I always had that determination of like, I'm going to do better. I'm going to like drive myself. I'm going to like reach the top.
Yeah.
I'm going to put all into this. And what I liked about facilities is every day you did something different. So on a Monday, you'd be dealing with like, I don't know, a roof leak. On the Tuesday, you'd be looking at your PPM plan. On the Wednesday, you'd be meeting like the finance director to discuss your budget. And it was so different every day that I found a job which I really liked, because I can't keep still and I have to do something different all the time.
Yeah.
So it sort of kept up with me. But in terms of the workplace, yeah, I got comments over the years, because traditionally FM is a masculine industry. Like, you do see a lot more men. All the engineers are, usually men. Most of the people at the top, statistically are men, and usually straight men. So yeah, there was like banter and comments and things like that, but I always gave it back.
Sure.
And somehow I never got sacked along the way. So like, someone would say to me, and where's your wife, Stephen? And I'd be like, I don't know, but I'll tell you where my husband is. I'd always have like a response for them, and I, try and be witty back. But it was a very positive experience, and I managed to get promoted over time to get to where I am at the moment. And I've been very fortunate enough. Lots of the leaders I've worked for have always been really good to me. They've given me opportunity, and if it's not necessarily promotions, it's been courses, it's been mentorship. It's been someone to talk to and run through ideas. I've never really reported into someone who's closed a door for me. I've been so fortunate in that way. But yeah, that's a bit of my career story. But I have seen over times companies really change in terms of like, now we have companies where I work where we support pride parades. In 2024, we had a float at Just Eat, and it was great. And literally we decorated the float. We had all our flags. We had, drinks and snacks. And, we went through London. London Pride, traditionally was back in 1972 when it was founded, it was a protest with 2,000 people. And that year, I think when we done it, there was 1 million people out on the street that day. And everyone was so for it. Everyone was smiling. Everyone was happy.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest with you, that was probably one of the best days of my life. I've never done anything where I thought, oh my God, I'm around my people. I'm working at a company like me. And I remember someone at C-level, and I'll give her a shout out. Her name's Jess Hort, and she won't mind me doing this. She was the chief product manager, a chief product officer, and she's at C-level. And she that day came along, and she was like waving flags with me. We were all like dancing and having fun, and it was the best day out. And I thought, wow, I actually work somewhere where I feel like I fit in. Traditionally, FM is also quite a lonely job. Lots of people are out working on their own.
Yeah.
So like you'd have cleaners working on their own, you'll have engineers working on their own. And like sometimes it's getting that integration of inviting people to these pride parades or whatever they are, ERG groups, meetings, discussions, socials, going to the theatre, because lots of people work on their own. And it's nice to know that there's that full circle. Like, okay, you can come here and be around people in your industry or company or whatever, but yeah, I'm very fortunate enough to work somewhere which really celebrates it. We got all the flags out. I tell my team, so I'm in charge of the workplaces in UK, Ireland and Germany, so I'm like, everyone get the flags out. We've all got the flags out, there's rainbows everywhere, good fun. But that's me.
No, that's interesting, because a lot of the guests we've had on here, when they talk about their specific cause that they champion or perhaps they're a representative of. So you talking about your time in school and how that you turned a negative into a positive to try and sort of, it really motivated you, and you've got to the position that you are now with having lots of success. We see that as a common theme actually, and then that spurs sort of the positivity out of a negative situation. So getting people to face into the adversity they face, but not use it as a way that would bring them down. It would actually make them rise up. And I think that's what Pride is all about now. I mean, it's all that it is very inclusive. It is about, you know, bringing people into the conversation. And you know, you've said it started off as a protest, but now it's, you know, with that 1 million people there, it's very much a celebration, isn't it?
It's crazy, isn't it? And yeah, it's about a bit of solidarity, like sticking together. And you don't have to be LGBT to turn up. Like, there is a plus. There's allies. You know, come along. You know, like, enjoy it. This year I'm in Spain when it's on. Visit my nan. I remember speaking to my nan the other day, and she goes to me, "Oh, when I was born, it was like illegal. You know, like you know, it wasn't, you know, normal." And my nan like said to me, like, she goes, you know, we're so proud of you. Like, look, you know, you being yourself. And I thought, that's like, for someone of her generation, where she's 90 almost, like, you know, that is, you know, phenomenal. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, look how times have changed. And I know there's still a long way to go in, especially some parts of the world where it's still illegal. But like, if my nan can, you know, be the advocate of, you know, of being a champion to her grandson, like, you know, everyone, that's possible for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. I mean, every year Reading has its own little Pride event.
Lovely.
Way smaller. I would never do London because I don't like the crowds, don't like the numbers. But myself, mother, Steve, funnily enough, a couple of our friends, gay friends, and then a lot of our straight friends, sort of 8 or 10 of them, come along every year. Absolutely love it. It's great fun. And yeah, they have a nice day, nice evening. No one's getting hassled at all, which, you know, with straight guys, they often think they're going to get hassled, and they're not. But I will say, going back to the school thing, I can tell I'm older than you because we had very different times at school. So I was at school, secondary school, in the 80s. So at the very heart of Section 28, and the various AIDS adverts that were running on TV at the time. So it was a very scary time. I clearly wasn't as comfortable with myself back then as you were. And that just pushed you further back away from ever looking to come out at that sort of age to my family and that. I mean, I would have been in my late 20s, I think, by the time I told them, because it had just been so almost not beaten into you, but drummed into you during the 80s and the 90s that it wasn't a good thing, that you were just like, oh, how's anyone going to react? And you feared the alienation. And so at various jobs, I left school, couldn't decide, finance or IT. So I kept moving back and forth between both. Job before this was in finance. I was a financial controller and, you know, perfectly happy, but construction industry. So you would hear a lot of the sort of sexist and semi-homophobic comments and that. And so you just thought better of ever telling anyone. And then I joined NJC, having decided wanted a bit more of an easy life. And yeah, first day, filling out the onboarding form, I managed to put that I was a lesbian. So that was an interesting one. So I think I outed myself then anyway. And yeah, it's been a great place to work, and it has changed a lot. The approach the company's taken over the years has changed a lot, but it is such a welcoming place. Our wedding, I think we had 10 or 15 people from the company there during the day, and they were all so happy to be there. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah, and I think I want to go back to the sort of the legislation changes, because I remember throughout school as well, I think I was just leaving year 11 when Section 28 was year 10 or 11 where Section 28 was repealed. And during that time, I think the Civil Partnership Act was also coming in 2004, 2005. But then 6 or 7 years later, I don't know if that got repealed, but that got same-sex marriages got recognised with the same status as heterosexual marriages. So there was a huge wave of change, and it felt like a bit like a revolution was underway. People's not attitudes were changing, but people were generally more comfortable speaking about things that perhaps they wouldn't have been before. And I remember 2018 or 2019 is where Pride really took off, and the company I was working with at the time, getting together and having a focus group, and just the excitement that generated, just that we're having these conversations, and I think we've continued that with NJC and the events that we hold each year. So it's good that people feel a part of it, and people feel comfortable. Linking on to that point, I want to talk about this concept of bringing your authentic self to work. And Paul's smiling at me a little bit because, perhaps we don't mean it literally in terms of like, we'll do whatever you want. But
I get in trouble when I'm my authentic self at work.
What you were speaking about, Paul, in your earlier jobs around, just going around with it, and you, Stephen, in terms of your time at school, you almost, would it be fair to say you had to hide what you had to hide a lot of yourself,
and it's mentally quite stressful. You don't really realise too much at the time. It's exhausting.
It is.
You're effectively living multiple lives, trying to compartmentalise everything, make sure you're telling the correct people the correct information. It's really quite taxing.
Yeah.
And that's quite a weight off once you've made the choice announcement.
But it's true. The exhausting thing, I completely agree. I remember like going to school and everyone would be like, "Are you gay? Are you gay? Are you gay?" And like it was like, why do you all need to know? Like I don't even know what I am. Like I was only like a kid, and it makes you think like, was it their parents who were drumming this in? Was it all this legislation which was so anti-gay people? Like I think it was the millennium. Finally, you could be gay and join the army. Like LGBT and join the. Before then, it was illegal. It was crazy and I remember, like, when you talk about the exhaustion, I get that. And when we talk about, like, the Stonewall stats earlier, like 2 in 5 people don't want to come out. Imagine how exhausted they feel. They come to work every day. And if people are questioning that about them, how exhausting. And that's probably why I do sometimes have a big mouth and I'm a bit confident, and I wear my lanyard and I wear my badge at work, and I join the meetings, and I'll help out with the drinks at the Pride event after work, whatever, because I just think of a young Stevie. Like, I know it sounds really passionate, like cringeworthy, but I just think of that young boy who didn't have anyone, and I just want to be there for someone else. And I did the podcast last time, and a young guy reached out to me on LinkedIn saying, would I be a mentor? I actually knew him before.
That's great.
And like he rings me like once a month and we just chat about FM. He's trying to do his IWFM. I've done my level 6 diploma, so I was like, I can help you if you need any help. Like, I'm there if you shout out what you need. But you really, like, the comment on the exhaustion, I completely get that. I remember coming home from school and thinking, I don't want to actually go here anymore. I don't like these people. I don't fit in here. Not only am I struggling learning all these hard, difficult subjects, because I was really ambitious. I'd pick like geography, German, all the hard ones where you have to read all this stuff instead of like doing dance or something I liked. No joking. But yeah, what I should have done is drama, because I never told them. But no, really, your comment really hits the nail on the head on that.
So that question around mentorship, did you have any role models sort of growing up where you looked up, you sought guidance from, or did it feel like you were on your own in that particular time?
I felt pretty much on my own, to be honest. Outside of London or Manchester, back again when I was younger, really aging myself now, there wasn't, unless you knew people and places, without the internet access and things like that, it was really difficult to meet people. I mean, I eventually found a social website. What was it called? It was out in the UK, and it organised social events
Yes.
Oh, cool.
for LGBTQ plus people. And so there were just all these parties you could go to, and everyone knew each other already because we were just chatting on the forums all day. And so you'd go along and you'd actually meet the people in real life. And it was fantastic. And that, I ended up meeting one of my best friends that way. We met on the internet. That sounds so bad. On this website. And yeah, we've been best friends ever since. And that's been 20 plus years now. So but yeah, you're lonely. You get home from school or from work, and you had no one to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember so when I was younger, there was like sort of pop acts and things. So like the Spice Girls, I don't know what it was about them, but I really found them so inspirational that I just saw all these mad personalities, and they'd go into these interviews and they'd give all this mouth to these people, and they'd be like, "Can you calm down?" They'd be like, "No, I won't calm down." And I just thought, that's how I feel. Like I feel like no one likes me, and they've got all this back chat. So I thought, I'm going to do it. So when people were rude to me at school, I'd give them the back chat, and that probably made things 10 times worse. But but growing up, we had Big Brother, and that was the first time I really saw gay people on the TV. But I didn't feel like they ever edited it where they looked favourable. So it'd be that, and it doesn't matter what you are. Like I'm very camp and I'm very proud of it and I own it. But it would always be a camp man. There would never be like anyone from all different backgrounds of the LGBT, because you could have someone who could be a builder, and they could be very masculine. And then one year there was a trans lady who won it. Was it Nadia? I think her name was. And I remember that's when it became discussion at school, where people were like, "Oh, I hope she wins," because really want to get behind her. And that was the first time I ever saw like gay people to me. But there was obviously Graham Norton. He was out at the time. Paul O'Grady. But I never saw anyone like me, like someone from Hounslow who has a working class background. Like it was all people who were in showbiz.
Yeah.
I never knew of I don't know, I'm making this up, like the postman's gay. Like I'm just making this up, but like normal jobs.
Yeah.
I never heard my dad say, "Oh, there's this guy at work, he happens to be gay. Like go to him for some advice." Like I didn't know anyone.
Yeah.
So when I came out, I really believe it or not, I live in a London borough, but I didn't know anyone to get some advice from. And I remember going to a gay bar, and lots of venues around where I live have all been shut down. The one in Richmond, the one in Ealing, and so on. And I remember going to the one in Ealing on my own one night, and I just thought, sod it, I would get really drunk. And if no one talks to me, I'll be drunk, so I won't even know. And people were so nice. I remember speaking to this mum and this daughter, and they were going out. I think they were going out with their friends, and they happened to be there. And they were like, "Oh, come and dance with us." And I just felt so a part of that. And that was probably I was probably about 23 when I first went to it. Quite later on in life, but I didn't feel confident enough to go before. Yeah. But it is when you think about it, like these days, like everyone was going so much younger, and I know it's a different time, but yeah, and I remember just going, and what I loved about the venues, and it's a shame there's not more of them. They would play all the music I liked, so like there would be the Britney Spears, and there'd be all this pop culture where you feel included, and then they'd play like drag bingo, and then I'd always get roasted by the drag queen, but I'd take it as an honour. I'd be like, yes, come for me. There's no better honour than a drag queen eating you alive.
Drag bingo is something that should be a company outing, to be fair.
What's that? The
drag
bingo.
It is fantastic.
Yeah, put it in the suggestion box. We'll take a look at it. Yeah.
What sort of celebrities did you follow when you were younger?
Actually, I was going to say about venues. Because that is one of the things that has changed a lot since it started before COVID, but COVID has just killed off.
It has.
So many of those social spaces where you could just go and be yourself. And it's fine. There aren't any left in Reading anymore. There were 4 at one point.
That's crazy.
But because of you can be yourself now everywhere, it's normally fine. But do you ever find you're walking to a bar and you are just so aware of everyone else who is in there, and it's, if I'm just me, is it going to kick off?
Yeah.
Are there people that are going to have an issue? And yeah, that gets pretty stressful as well.
Yeah.
As for celebrities, who was a celebrity when I was growing up? Crikey.
Dame Edna.
She was, funnily enough.
Joking.
Can't go wrong with Dame Edna.
I love Dame Edna.
Danny LaRue.
Yeah. Yeah.
I never really looked up to celebrities
Yeah.
like that.
I always looked up to them because I didn't feel like I had anyone else. So
Yeah.
so I always was fascinated, like, and I know this is an FM thing, and like people probably watching this thinking like, what are we talking about Britney Spears for? But when you saw these celebrities go through a bad time, I was like, oh my god, I obviously nowhere near to that level, like 1% of what she ever experienced.
You shave your head.
Yeah, no joking. But like you see these celebrities go through bad times, and then you sort of champion them. You get behind them because you think, oh, like you can't relate to anyone else, but you could sort of see, and that's where you see a lot in especially gay culture in particular, where they idolize these celebrities because they don't have anyone to relate to. And maybe now it's a bit different, like you said. There's like so many platforms on social media where you can probably reach out to someone who's very similar to like our age groups, or whatever it is.
And you've got a lot of out celebrities and sports people and that these days as well that kids and that can look up to, who it's like, okay, they're like me, and look at the career they're having, the success they're having. There was none of that when I was younger. I mean, they would have, even George Michael, I mean, that was one of those, that was still a very taboo conversation.
Yeah.
And Freddie Mercury.
But they were great men, weren't they? The things they did for charity, and you find out like after they died how much they did, and really were pioneers like in supporting the cause. And we talk about pride. It's not even just about like these fun parades and things like that. It's about like sorry, I can't get my words out. Having that remembrance of all these people who championed before us and like given us the life we have today.
Yeah.
The code breaker. Like it's never. Like there's a list of hundreds of LGBT people who have done amazing things. The people who dealt with the Stonewall riots in the States, which then in effect came here, which allowed us to have a pride parade because of what's happened there. There's so many cultures and people around the world, and people always say to us like, should there still be a pride parade? Should we still celebrate Pride Month? It's all okay now, but it's not all okay now for some people. Like for me, yeah, it's okay. But like, what about in these countries where it's not okay? And what if they come here and they don't feel, they come to escape that country? They want to see this, they want to champion this, they want to get behind it, and that's why I've always been so for it.
But it's not even just other countries, is it? Because if you look at this month on Facebook and that, every time a business is changing its logo to have the rainbow or anything, the comments that appear under it are. Yeah.
It's like you were saying, Paul, as well. If you go into a bar or something like that, if I'm my authentic self, will it kick off? Like you're still thinking that, like, or
it's on the train and things like that, like home from London.
I had it one year, so I went to the Pride Parade. When was it? 2023. I went with work and I put on this really funny outfit, like these sparkly shorts, as a laugh, not taking myself seriously. They're like little shiny things.
Authentic self.
Yeah, my authentic self. Anyway, so I put them on, and on the way home, this man goes to me, "Oh, you need to seek religion, And the thing is, at that time of night, I was a bit drunk, and it's quite intimidating, even though I'm quite tall and big. I'm thinking like, what is he going to try and like have a fight with me? Like, you're not you don't want to get involved in sort of violence and things like that. But it's very uncomfortable. Like, is it really a need for that comment? Like, I wasn't throwing it in his face, but maybe the sparkles on them caught his eye.
I think that's why. So it's important to have allies, and it's important to bring the conversation to everybody. So Even a simple thing like just wearing the lanyard. So that video we've circulated, Paul, around the office, that just makes it really hammers home the point around making people feel safe. So there was it talks about going home on the train, interacting with the public, and then people feeling like, oh, can I be my authentic self? But they see somebody perhaps wearing a bracelet or the lanyard, and they feel, that's an ally, or I feel safe in this environment. So that for me really sort of hammers home the point. And it's not all about, we can't all be advocates, and luckily we are all sitting around the table here talking about it, but equally some people may not be comfortable talking about it, and that's fine, but they can see that visibility there. They can see, there is someone there I can go to in my own time. The conversations are different now, they're happening, and that sort of goes sort of a long way, and it's important to get everybody engaged with that message.
Definitely. I think in our industry as well, there is a shortage in finding people in this facility management sector. Like for some reason, there's always jobs. There's always a shortage of finding people for these jobs in this industry. So like doing this, you're going to attract people from different backgrounds, whatever, celebrating Pride, celebrating, whatever, International Women's Day, or, drawing people into this industry. There's so many factors to it.
Yeah. And the next part I want to talk about is sort of just inclusive language in the workplace, and how that has changed amongst your experiences as well. So, we've released a new guide in terms of making sure, we're always using inclusive language, and just guiding people in terms of, what that looks like. So how important is that, to see in organisations? Because I think that sort of simple thing like that breeds a culture where, inclusivity is not just a buzzword. It's there as, it's in the DNA. It's part of the bread and butter of an organisation.
Yeah, I could talk from like my own point of view. I haven't got a problem with he, she, they, like them, however you identify, and if it makes you happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy. I don't see this whole being so anti of how people think. Like you don't know how that person feels. If that makes them happy, it makes them feel comfortable. Let them. People have it on the end of their emails how they would like to be identified, and I think that's very nice. Did anyone watch the Channel 4 drama Tiptoe? And Alan Cummins, who's the actor in it, and please watch it if anyone's. It's on Channel 4. It's really deep. He said, "Why do people want to be referred to as these terms?" And he said at school, they've been called along the lines of, "You're not a girl, you're not a boy, you're not this, you're not that. Why are you not acting like a boy? Why are you not acting like a girl?" And I thought that literally hits the nail on the head. And if someone wants to be called a they, them, or whatever, and it makes them happy. Let's just leave it at that. That's my own personal opinion. But I know everyone's different. But I don't think most people these days go out to offend people. People are also allowed to make mistakes and say the wrong thing if there's no ill intent. So I'm always about let's not all get offended for the sake of being offended.
Yeah.
But let's like what we're doing right now, have an open conversation, learn from each other, let someone have a disagreement, as long as there's no ill intent behind it. There's very different, but saying something homophobic to someone deliberately than saying something which you've caused offence but you didn't mean to. But inclusive language, if it helps, it makes the world a better place, let's do it. That's my opinion.
Definitely.
Anyway.
So my now husband Steve, keen baker, and back when NJC was at the old office out in Winners Triangle, I would regularly turn up with homemade sausage rolls, turnovers, lamb sausage rolls, and they always went down a storm. And they were always out in the staff room, and one day I've just popped upstairs to where the finance team were, and one of them has said to me as I was heading back downstairs, "Who's the baker? You or your," I think it was, girlfriend? And I've just stopped by the door, looked over my shoulder, and said, "That'd be Steve. I'll let him know." And I've just run back downstairs, laughing like mad. gone into the main office where business support and the ops team were, and have told them all. Because as far as I was concerned, I was out at the office. I thought everyone knew. Yeah, and that was a funny little story. And then the company Christmas party that year, partners came along, and I've seen this lady. I'm with Steve, and I've said to her, "Oh, this is my wife, Steve." She just looked like she wanted the ground to open up and swallow her. People make mistakes. It's going to happen, as you say. If people are trying to be offensive, that's a completely different matter. And you see it in interviews where the interviewer will deliberately call a celebrity that wants to be a they stroke them as he or she, and you're doing it for clickbait. And it's not nice, it's not fair, and it's certainly not funny.
That's a really good point in terms of creating an inclusive environment. So we all make mistakes, and it's about, like you've said, Paul, you know when people are genuinely trying to offend versus people who've just genuinely made a mistake. And the simple correction, or the simple just it's a lack of perhaps information or lack of understanding, perhaps, which is what causes that misunderstanding. But approaching it in a open way, and because I think a lot of people perhaps they're fearful of making mistakes, and they needn't be. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah. I think so. I will say these days, I think my generation are probably now some of the more accepting that younger generations, younger than you, are starting to fall back into the old habits of like you were experiencing at school, and there's a lot of that sort of name calling and general bullying going on again. That you see it on social media a lot more these days than you had in probably the last 10 years, and a lot of that is being led by some of the political parties that are out there these days, who are after all the minorities. And it's starting to build back up again, and it's not nice, and it will push people back to more where I was than where the world was when you were at school.
Yeah, and not like to get political because I'm not a political expert or anything, but like obviously Durham Pride that got cancelled recently. Well, they tried to cancel it, the council wouldn't fund it, but then the unions and people got together and managed to get more. I don't know if this is statistically factual, but it's what I've read online. You always have to roll your eyes with what you read online, but it said that they had more budget from funding. From the unions and everyone to make it even more successful. And I thought that's really great when people just come together and think, no, this will go ahead. We really enjoy it. It's great for the local community. It brings in lots of profits, champions people, makes people feel accepted, and it went ahead.
Yeah. So
even though things politically are happening in this country sometimes, I do think the greater good always wins. We're a very accepting society. I would like to think, you can walk along the street and you do hear of crime, but we are a nice country full of lots of nice people. And sometimes the bad, this small minority of bad people, the spotlight gets shown on them, but there's so many great people out there. And that's the mindset I always try and have every day. I'm thinking, right, but it's hard sometimes, and especially for certain communities who are not experiencing that. Minorities.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was you alluding to the comments you see on social media, Paul. I don't know if a lot of them are just bots and fake accounts.
Got pretty good at spotting those. I don't know why
Yeah.
people would develop for them to do that.
Because they never have an actual face, do they? It's
No.
always like an old cartoon or an old clip from a movie. But there was that documentary called Manosphere. Did anyone watch it on Netflix?
Yes, yeah.
And I think you're talking about like not necessarily them, but like the like how they have such a huge following and they can say the most outrageous things, and young people in particular, seem to look up to these individuals, which is quite scary because what they're sort of promoting is not nice and sometimes quite hateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking of language, so it's not that long ago that it was quite popular to say that something that was rubbish or
Yeah.
terrible, whatever, was that's so gay.
Yeah.
And that really used to wind me up.
Yeah.
'Cause what do you actually mean by that? And people, even my nephew was saying it. It's like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, just that it's rubbish. But why not just say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you're linking the two things, and you would get people saying, "No, I'm not." So, but you are.
Yeah.
By using one to describe the other, you are very much giving it that meaning. That sort of
agree.
language.
It's interesting. I
annoyed
didn't
me.
know that was coming back. That was it.
At school, that was a big thing.
Yeah, that was. I remember that. Yeah.
Negative
Yeah.
context towards anything. Yeah, it'd
Yeah.
be like like can't even know that is so gay. Like that's a compliment. That's great. It's amazing. But like not something what's not nice.
Okay. What are so just bringing it back to a work context? What would you say are the everyday actions managers, colleagues, even clients or suppliers, whoever it may be, can take to sort of create a more inclusive workplace? Because the question is, we do a lot, but what more can be done? Are we doing everything that can be done? So yeah, what would your take be on that?
Lots of layers to that question, isn't there? So like that you obviously get the C level, so you want them to give you the budget to the employee resource groups,
Yeah.
and the power to the HR departments and empower them to like basically drive great policies, like so people can't be mistreated at work,
Yeah.
where people can have a speak up line if they do get
Yeah.
treated wrong, and there's budgets for ERG groups to sponsor pride parades. I'm just making this up on the spot, but like and fund an office party, fund these lanyards. What you've amazingly done here, you've got like lovely representation everywhere, like these flags above us. And then it's also like having procurement policies where you want to have suppliers with the same, ways of thinking as your
Yeah.
company, and then getting data like to show, where are their leaders like in amazing roles and so on. But it's also like individuals like myself, like you can't expect the company to do everything for you. You need a volunteer. Like, the company can't set up a pride party after work without volunteers helping. And I think sometimes we put too much onus on everyone else to fix our problems, not necessarily the pride and LGBT community, but like everyone in general. Like, sometimes you've got to volunteer yourself. What can you
Yeah.
do better? Like, last time I'd done this, I said if anyone wants to reach out and be a mentor, someone did reach out to do it. Like, you've got to put in the system, to help people. You can't just expect the system to fix everything for you. But that's my personal opinion. But yeah,
That's really good.
Yeah.
Agree with that. Yeah.
Whereas mine's far more simplistic.
Must be nice.
Ultimately, it is just about, I wouldn't mind if we didn't see the pride flags and that around the office, as long as absolutely every member of staff, no matter who they are, is treated exactly the same. I think we are, just to be clear. But I know there are companies where that's not the case. It's nice to recognise it,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it then runs that, oh, well, you recognised Pride Month, what about this? And you could be doing
hard, isn't
a
it?
different celebration every day of the year.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave out one group then, do you? Like,
No,
another,
because you do risk alienating other groups, other demographics. So it's a...
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting point you touched on. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit. So do you mean treating everybody with equality or equity? Because they're two different things. Because we're not all equal. We come from different backgrounds. The look at NJC. as a cross section, it's so diverse. It's people from all different countries of the world, different sort of experiences. So is it equality or equity? Sorry to put you on the spot there, Paul.
I didn't say either of those, did I? Didn't I just say treated the same?
Yeah.
I dumbed it down. As long as the company's policies apply fairly and in the same way to
No. I wasn't trying to catch you out, don't worry. It's not
to everybody.
Yeah. No, but that's it. I think the differences that we have that's what makes us unique. I mean, going back to the earlier example of just wearing these lanyards, when I was buying coffee, I decided to try a new place, and the barista there, bit of an older gentleman, he was like, "Oh, I really like your lanyard." Yeah, that visible showing of, I'm championing the cause, and I understand. Well, I'm on board with with the cause. So it went a long way for that individual. I was just thinking about perhaps what he's maybe what he's gone through in his life. He was an older gentleman, so he's probably seen a lot of change. So it was. I've lost my train of thought now.
But it's nice, isn't it? And he could have hit home to him. Like maybe he had a friend, or maybe himself,
exactly.
or like it resonated with something. Thinking, oh, isn't that great that you now can go around wearing a pride lanyard? Something as simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. Nice. So, is there something we can do? And it's a rhetorical question. There's no, direct answer to it, or there may be. That we can. Is there something we can do to make those operatives feel more included or safe, or can we guard them from these comments? So, what's the what is the solution to this? Because it's important everybody feels, not just everybody feels included, not just the people sitting in offices.
Like as a leader, this is what I do. I have a team call every Tuesday morning, and everyone in my team can speak openly on that call, within reason. Just insulting me, how dare they? No, I'm joking. But everyone can come on that call and speak openly. I don't know this. I want to learn this. I want. This is what's a blocker this week. This is what's not a blocker. This is what I've experienced. And it doesn't matter, if you're LGBT or, whatever background you come from, it's just as a leader, allowing people to feel so comfortable around you where they can talk openly, where they can ask a silly question. And, nothing's a silly question. If you don't know something, you should have a safe space and a safe person to speak to. And as a leader, if you're not offering that, then, I think you're in the wrong job. Because that's what you're supposed to do as a leader. You're supposed to lead by example and give people direction. And I'm really adamant on that. Anyone in my team knows they can always come to me and speak openly. And and I really respect them because they're a great team who,
that's good. And that fosters that culture where, there's no sort of barrier, and people are able to bring their authentic self to work. So perhaps if they've heard a comment to say, well, actually, they can come to you and say, actually, Steven, I was on site and, I wasn't really happy with what I overheard. And perhaps, you can have the conversation with the relevant people who've got the relationship with that client or whoever it may be to say, look, FYI, can we do something about this perhaps? Yeah.
And I think sometimes when you talk to someone, and if it's your leader, your mentor, whoever it is, when you talk to someone, sometimes it can be the opposite. It isn't as bad as you thought it was. Because sometimes I've been in situations where I'm thinking, oh my God, can't believe that was said. And then you take a step back and you think, no, it's the context I read that in. No one meant any maliciousness about something. It was just that, I don't know, when I was younger, you're just learning and you're learning on the job and you didn't quite pick something up properly and they made a comment, they didn't mean to insult you. They probably just lost patience when you were younger and you're trying to learn it. And they've shown you about 10 times. But, I always think sometimes it's nice to just talk to someone, whoever it is. And sometimes in cases like there's not always a leader around to talk to because they're busy doing their job. So if you haven't got availability with a leader, all my team have one-to-ones once a week. Where I've worked, I've always given my team to one-to-one. Even if you come on the one-to-one and you have nothing to talk about, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. We'll talk about what was on TV last weekend just to break the ice, and you can get my character and I can get their character. that if you haven't got a leader, go out and find a mentor. There's so many people on LinkedIn. If you did a post, and no matter how embarrassing it is, or go to a networking event and get talking to someone, and you find them interesting, you go, "Oh, I really find this subject interesting. Could you be my mentor?" And it's like as simple as asking that.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because I'm very vocal and I have no shame. But if you do have these, like sort of feelings where you don't want to do this, there's IWFM. Join their networking events. There's so many what go around, so many podcasts, so many webinars, and you can join them, get their names, follow them on LinkedIn, and just say, "Look, when you're next at a networking event, can I come along and have 5 minutes with you?"
Yeah.
And I've done it loads, and you learn lots, especially with AI coming in at the moment. Nobody really understands AI fully unless you're in a product and tech background. Yeah. And going to these events and getting the head start is really what I'm suggesting people to do at the moment.
Yeah.
Because it's such a powerful tool, and it will become a huge, much more powerful tool as it's learning more and more and more.
Yeah, the power of AI really needs to be harnessed, doesn't it? We're at the start of that, and just discovering the potential it's got. Yeah. So, Paul.
That's all right. I'm thinking about AI now, which seems like a different conversation. But
that's next week's webinar podcast.
Well, I was watching something the other day, and they were saying it's becoming a vicious circle now because of the data that AI is being trained on. Is now data that it has generated, because that's now an awful lot of the internet traffic. And because it produces so much stuff that's wrong, it's now getting trained on incorrect information. So this is going to be a vicious decreasing circle. Yeah. People are starting not to do that, aren't they? Yeah.
And I don't know about yourselves, but when you see an email, sorry, I know this podcast is not about this, but when you see an email and it's so generic.
Oh, someone's put that through ChatGPT.
It's like, okay, Miss Solicitor, writing to me. Mr. Solicitor. Yeah.
So my take would be there isn't a universal answer, and stop me if you feel I'm wrong, but inclusivity it's a continual thing. I mean, it's not a single thing we can sort of pin down and say, yes, we're an inclusive organisation now, we can put our feet up, that's it. We need to carry on having those conversations. It is doing simple things where people feel safe to sort of voice their opinions or their feelings. In the workplace, bringing their authentic selves to work.
Yeah. And it's like anything in life, you always continuously improve.
Yeah.
Not even just about this subject, any subject, isn't it? You always can make things better.
Well, and there will be changes in people's attitudes, life in general, policies, government policies, etc., that are always going to have that knock-on effect on the workplace. So it is, moving target.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I think closing thoughts, any any last sound bites?
No, I've really enjoyed this. It's been lovely talking to you both. Thank you for having me on with you both. Really good.
Thank you. Yeah, we covered some really interesting topics, and I think we've made a lot of progress.
It's been interesting. Yeah. I'm never doing it again.
No, you were good. You were really good. You were the best. You were really good.
It's been very interesting, I've got to say. It's been, for me, it's been interesting to have this sort of conversation in the workplace.
Yeah.
So, again, different to sit chatting with you guys about it than just sitting out there chatting to person next to me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Did you ever think when you were younger you'd be like, obviously, podcast or I don't know, making this up on radio? Would you ever speak so openly about your life?
It's a great question.
No, because they were difficult to record onto the gramophone.
Was it on that?
On the wax disc. No, never. It's only, and again, it's only really since I've been at NJC, the outside of my family and friendship circle, that I do talk about it. Because it has been that sort of environment where I've been really comfortable and really relaxed. I remember last year I turned up wearing my Pride trainers and everything.
Did you?
Rainbow soles.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
No, I play football and remember the rainbow laces.
Yeah.
That was a really cool thing to wear. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I had some custom Converse made.
Yeah. That's nice. That's lovely.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Stephen and Paul. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you. And hope to see you again soon for some more conversations like this. I think we need to think about what we're going to do next year now, Paul. I think we'll open it up to...
I'll be retired.
Open it up to some of the employee resource groups or employee groups. So for some ideas. But yeah, no, it was definitely a very productive conversation. So thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
And thank you to all of you, our listeners. For more information, please see our website and our SharePoint homepage. Otherwise, I will see you on the next edition of the NJC podcast. Thank you. Bye for now.